After the first edition of the UEFA Nations League in 2018-2019, UEFA decided to change the format of the tournament. This format change saw all of the best three leagues, League A to C, gaining teams, while League D lost a lot of teams and now only consists of 7 teams. After the first edition, the rankings were used to determine the playoffs. Each league had their own playoff path, so it was guaranteed that one team from each of the 4 leagues would go to Euro 2020. And of course this was especially important for League D teams, as they don't have a lot of chances in the normal qualification process. However, now that League D is down to only 7 teams, this rule does not longer exist. Now we only have 3 playoff paths anymore, composed of a path A, a path B and a path C. So League D teams can no longer access the playoffs. At least that's what you would assume. But there is actually a rule in the UEFA regulations, and this rule allows a team from League D to enter the playoffs. Now let's take a look at how it exactly works. You can read that Article 16.02 of the competition regulations determines how the path formation of the playoff works. I will not focus on how exactly the playoffs work because it's a very complicated topic. I might make a video on it in the future, but now we will only focus on the rule that allows League D teams to get into the playoffs. You see that there are a lot of rules. Like I said, I won't talk about all of them. The interesting rule here is the one with the D, and it's about League D. As it reads out, if fewer than 4 teams from one league enter the playoffs, the first available slot is allocated to the best ranked group winner of League D in the overall rankings. So this basically means that each of the leagues, of course, first the group winners get the playoff spot, but if they already qualified, then the next best team from this league would get the spot, and so on. But if so many of the league's teams qualified that there aren't enough to form a playoff path or to take to the playoffs, the best group winner of League D would get the spot. So there are only 2 group winners of League D, but as you can see here, the other one wouldn't get a spot. The remaining slots are then allocated to the best ranked of the teams that have not already qualified. So there's no chance of getting that if you are in League D. This means only one League D team has a chance of getting into the playoffs. But how likely is that best group winner? Well, of course, any of the leagues can have too many, or like basically more than 12 teams qualifying directly via the European qualifiers. But realistically, it's only going to happen in the best league, League A. Of course, we don't have the full results of the European qualifiers and also the Nations League yet, but we can use the results of the last edition of the Nations League. This edition is the 2020-21 one, and it basically had the same format, the Nations League. The only difference was that in the European qualifiers, the runners-up, they don't go exactly directly to the World Cup, but to the playoffs. But I just marked every team in blue that either finished first or second in the group stage in the European qualifiers. If this was a Nations League prior to a Euro, all of those teams would be qualified for this European Championship. It's just the only Nations League that has ever been finished in this format, so we're going to use it as an example. And you instantly see that 14 teams from League A finished either first or second in their qualifying groups. And of course, in this case, the playoff spot or one playoff spot would go to Gibraltar. You see Gibraltar being the best group winner of League D. In that case, they would get the playoff spot and they would compete in the playoffs for Euro. Of course, it's a World Cup qualifying, the Nations League isn't as influential there, but yeah, the basic format is the same, and we can assume that most of the teams from League A will finish either first or second, because we saw that being the case last time as well. Also, we have to consider that Germany, a team from League A, will not take part in the qualification, but they will just qualify directly to Euro 2024 as they are the hosts. This means that we would even have 21 blue teams if it was an actual Euro qualification. So it is pretty likely for a League D team to get into the playoffs now. They of course wouldn't have lots of chances, but Bosnia-Herzegovina and Iceland, for example, they wouldn't be the ultra strongest teams. Of course, they won't be in the playoffs now. We have different teams in League A, and we don't know the results of the European qualifiers. But we can see that while there can only be one team from League D to enter the playoffs, it is pretty likely. Of course, we need to know which team it would be. Even if the European qualifiers are still pretty far away from being finished, we know the Nations League is already finished match day 4, so we know which teams might be the best group winners of League D. Therefore, let's take a look at the rankings of League D. First of all, we just see Latvia having much more points than Estonia, those two being the best in their group, but of course the results against the last or against the bottom team of Group 1, they won't count. So Latvia's results against Liechtenstein will not count. Moldova and Malta could still be they could still win their respective groups, but I don't see it as very realistic. I think it will come down to a battle of Latvia and Estonia. Also considering that Malta has one more game played than Estonia. So at the bottom, you can see the comparison between Latvia and Estonia, where you see it will probably be a very, very close decision between those two. Latvia has already played their 2 games against Liechtenstein, and it is very unrealistic that Liechtenstein will leave the bottom spot as they are 4 points behind. So we can basically say that now the 2 remaining games for Latvia and Estonia will probably decide who will be the best group winner of League D. It might even come down to a goal differential. Right now Latvia is 2 points on the goal differential ahead, so it might be a really, really close call. And it is very likely that either Latvia or Estonia will be the best group winner of League D, and as we already saw, it's also pretty likely that this team will then go to the playoffs. So it is pretty likely that we will see a Baltic team competing at the Euro 2024 playoffs. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you could understand how the qualification works. If you want me to do like an example video of how the whole playoff path formation process works using this example again, I might do it. Just put a comment, and if you want to see it, I will make a video. So we already know now how the playoff paths will be formed, because this will only happen in like 1.5 years time from now, so it's pretty long time, and I might already make a video now. Okay guys, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Goodbye.